So I got to thinking earlier that when it came time for Bella to actually start watching these videos again, if I'm not around, um, why would she retain or even entertain what I had to say? I mean, we all know children don't listen to their parents, and in general, younger people don't listen to older people, which is, quite frankly, in my opinion, a huge, uh, a huge thing that humans could benefit from, but a lot of time don't. You don't listen to older people who've been there and done that, and you have to learn the mistakes yourself the hard way, sometimes over and over again. And just think how much more you could accomplish if you avoided making all those mistakes. At any rate, I'm going to try to explain to you, Bella, why you should consider entertaining what I have to tell you and your mother and other older people, or even you can look at your friends as they start to get older and make mistakes. An intelligent person, it takes an intelligent person to learn from other people's mistakes. It takes an intelligent person to learn from your own mistakes. It takes a very intelligent person to learn from other people's mistakes. To be able to look at what they've gone through. I mean, everybody can look and see the suffering and know that sucks, but to really put yourself in their shoes and think about what they've gone through and say, I don't want that to happen to me, no matter how tempting what they did is, or how easy it is to get into that ordeal. You don't want to do it. When I was in high school and a little bit after, pretty much all my friends got DWIs, and it cost them a lot of money, and it was a big pain in the ass. And I said, you know what? How easy is it not to drive? It's just so easy to avoid that headache, and I learned from all their mistakes. But I want you to consider this, and anybody else who's listening to this, younger children or 20s, 30s, you know, teens. When you ask yourself why should I, even if you consciously recognize you should listen to other people, but you don't, consider this. And I'm trying to think of the best way I could word this. When you were in sixth grade, and you were done finishing up with K through six, you thought you were the king of the world. You were the oldest grade in your, at least I was, in my school was elementary through six, kindergarten, whatever it was, through six. And, the sixth graders were the old kids, and they were revered, and they knew everything, and you were comfortable because you'd been there for so many years, and you knew everything. You just knew what to do. Whereas like the third graders didn't as much. But then when summer recess was over and you started seventh grade, you were in a whole new school. It was junior high. You didn't know anything. You were the young kids again compared to the seniors in 12th grade. And you didn't know shit. You went from knowing everything and being able to administer advice to not being able to do that again and not knowing. And the 12th graders were the ones who were older now and revered, and they knew where to go. They weren't scared by how everything was bigger and you were responsible to get to your class instead of getting walked there by your teacher. They knew where to go. They knew everything. And that came with experience, and they made mistakes. So if they told you what to do, you didn't think twice. You didn't argue. If they said, oh, PE class is down the hall here, there, and there, you didn't argue with them and go, well, I'm going to get lost for myself. You said, okay, thanks. And you didn't make the mistake they did. Yet for some reason, when your parents try to tell you about saving money or not dating a certain person or anything, you fight tooth and nail. And I want you to consider that analogy I just gave you. Even go take it further. You get to high school, you do your thing. I remember when I was a senior, I was like, this is it. I'm at the pinnacle of life. I know all I need to know. You couldn't tell me anything when I was in 12th grade. And then I went to college, and once again, I was the young one. I didn't know anything, and it was a big campus, and I didn't know where to go. And once again, the people who had already made the mistakes could offer up advice, and you listened to them. Same thing. Then you got to be a senior in college, and you really thought you were a grown-up, because as everybody told you, you graduate college, you're a grown-up. You get a career. and you do feel a little bit more in control. But now that I'm 38, 32, um, I look at college kids and I go, they're just babies, and they don't know anything, and they don't. They haven't made mistakes of buying their first cars, uh, potentially at that age marrying already the wrong person, um, making financial mistakes. You're starting out with your financial career at that age too, pretty much, and there's a lot of mistakes to make. You have to learn how to budget, and if your parents don't teach you a good way to do it. A lot of people flail, and a lot of people cry broke and live paycheck to paycheck, and a lot of it is because they just don't know how to do a simple budget and aren't honest with themselves. A cup of Starbucks you drink every day costs you almost a car payment a month. Now, not a Mercedes, but a cheap car payment a month. Almost $5 a day times 30, that's $150 a month. You can go out and buy a Chevy Cruze with a couple bucks down over 5 years for almost that, especially if you lease it. Add alcohol onto that, bad habits. Cigarettes, alcohol are terrible. But anyway, back to advice. Sorry to get off on a tangent there. Trust me, I'll cover all these things in my upcoming videos. Do yourself a favor. And now you don't have to automatically listen to everything older people say, because let's face it, there's some people that are just morons, and they're morons all throughout their life. And they don't stop making mistakes, and they don't stop not listening. They just don't listen to anybody. Now, don't get me wrong, they made a lot of mistakes, so they can offer you some advice, but you need to learn how to delineate what they're saying and what is BS, and what you can tell caused them pain and suffering and what not to do. And I wanted to get this video out of the way first, because what good is it for me making you a bunch of videos about what to do and what not to do if I'm not here and you don't listen, or at least take them under advisory. But I got a lot more to give you. And hopefully you listen, because life can be very, 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 very difficult. It is very difficult, even when you make the right choices and do the right things. But it can at least be enjoyable, and you can minimize your suffering and maximize your enjoyment. When you make the wrong decisions and you keep making them, no fun. It can really be no fun. You could end up with the wrong person. And you get stuck with the wrong person, and then you have kids. It's tough. You can be broke, perpetually broke, because you make poor decisions. It's tough. Bad job choices. It's tough. It's all in what you make it. Now, along the way, you're going to have strings of bad luck, and you're going to have strings of good luck. And you can't cry or whine when you have bad luck, and you can't sit around and expect to ride the good luck. You have to suck it up and keep pushing forward. It's not, how you act when something bad happens. What's that saying? It's not how you act when something bad happens to you. It's how you deal with it and keep going afterwards. Everybody has failures, and it's your choice to accept them or to say, no, I'm going to keep trying. Basically, what I'm getting is you decide how your life's going to be. For the most part, there's always outside factors like government and health that you might not necessarily be able to control, like myself. And those you have to try to change them if you can, but for the most part, just do the best you can with them. So I will see you soon with my next tidbit of info. And as promised, I'm going to also share with you guys my experiences with my, where is it? It's not in here. My Dyson DC41 Animal, the $500 vacuum cleaner that never loses suction. Hint, it doesn't. Doesn't lose suction. It still sucks. Unfortunately, it sucks both ways. Just because it doesn't lose suction and it still sucks good doesn't mean it's any good. So, Peace out.